All right. Warm welcome. A very warm welcome. It's 4 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. And we are here, the book club members. So warm welcome to each one of you. Thank you so much for bringing in your tea, your book, and your excitement to be together on a Sunday afternoon. So may I ask how many of you are attending the book club meet for the first time? I see new faces, new names here. So I'm excited to know that. Okay, yeah, a raise of hands will be lovely. Sumana, is this for the first time? Okay, okay. All right. Okay, I Bharti, all right, okay. Rakhi, of course, shared, and uh, Meera has been attending. Okay, Renu, Aishwarya, Manjula, Meeta, warm welcome. So that's wonderful. Okay, got your excitement, Vyomi. Thank you. You were so excited and been reading the book since morning. Oh, amazing. Okay, you just finished chapter 8. Awesome. Now that's what, yeah. So, okay. So this is a great beginning. We're equally excited and so happy to see so many of us coming together for the love of and the joy of reading, learning, and bringing this energy together. So we're live, and I will begin with our customary introductions. So who we are, Women on Wealth, and what we do. We help women learn to take charge of their finances so that women can become independent financially. They learn how to manage their money, grow their money, learn investing together. And this space is our most loved and cherished space where we are bringing in conversations around money, discussions around money, a safe space where women can come in freely, discuss, learn, and share. And here we pick books, one book at a time. We pick books on habit building, we pick books on investing, we pick books on financial management. And this week, this month, we've been reading the book How Women Rise by Sally Elgerson. And today we are here together to begin to do a quick summary of chapter 7 and begin with chapter 8. And okay, so on this note, I will bring in my fellow book club leaders, Garima and Kaveri, to please take this further and forward.
Hey, thanks, Hira. Hey, everyone. So excited to see a count of 20. I think Sunday suits all of us. I know there are quite a lot of new members, so thank you so much for joining in. Just to give a quick recap of what we have done so far, How Women Rise, it's a very smooth read, very simple read, which all of us can associate with, at least I could, and some of the readers also could. Simply put, it talks about some of the habits that are holding us back in our corporate journey or in our relationships as we, communicate with each other. And you haven't missed much in case this is your first meet, so take your time. We have just started reading. The book is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, they introduce how men and women are different. We are in part 2, where we are going to talk about each of the 12 habits that Sally and Marshall have identified. And we have read up till the 3rd habit, which we are going to do a recap now. And then we'll get into the next one, which is going to be chapter 8. For those who have read chapter 8 like me, it'll be a good summary for us as well. What we have talked about is reluctance to claim your achievement. So go back and read it at your pace. We've also talked about expecting others to notice and reward your contributions. I'm guilty of it, but yes, it's a wake-up call that we all are not, we don't read each other. So if you have done something good, talk about it. And overvaluing expertise is something we're going to discuss today. So that's where we are. And anybody wants to put in what their thoughts were when they read chapter 7, what do they want to talk about? What are the thoughts that come to your mind? But also just to highlight, I think Kaveri, you are also taking the attendance list in parallel. so that we can create our list of actions that we are going to take away after this reading as well, so that we can follow through. So anybody who wants to share their thoughts? Okay. I think it's the first book that everybody's, sorry, this is the first session if most of us are joining in. I'm not sure, Kaveri, if you were able to read chapter 7. If not, no? Okay. So chapter 7 actually talks about something that I have actually written in one of the corner. If you can see, you can't see because I'm sharing, I've got the background on, but I actually ended up writing yes, yes, and more yes, because it says top jobs always require managing and leading people who have expertise, not providing expertise yourself. And I think women spend too much time trying to become an expert. And in the process, we just keep upskilling ourselves, but we don't talk about how do we lead teams, how do we lead a group of people who are expert in what they are doing. And therefore, it just slows us further down, because if you're good in what you're doing, I'm not saying you don't have to be good. I mean, if you're an expert in what you're doing, the chances are that I would want to keep you in the team so that you can continue to do the good, rather than put you in a position where I'm leading you, where you are leading a team. So I kind of liked that part. And it also talks about that there are two things that go a long way. One is mastery in your skill, and the other is recognition. And I think we all can do a lot with the recognition. We all are masters in what we do, be it when we're cooking at home, taking care of children, taking care of household. But yes, Vyomi, please do share your thought. If you want, you can unmute yourself, I think. But it was for me, absolutely. And recognition is something that is, something that we need. Both men and women need it. I think that's what it talks about. So that I really liked. And then for people who have read the book, there is an example of Ashley. And she says, quote, unquote, I was learning to let go of being an expert when she started, in her leadership role. So I think we just have to understand that we don't have to be end-to-end masters, but we just need to go ahead and push ourselves further and ask for where, it's due for us to take the seat at the table. So that's what I picked up from.
Rima, I also think it's sort of an inbuilt thing that we feel we don't know enough. I need to know more. I need to upskill more. I need to be more of an expert. Am I good enough to lead, or maybe I should be the best in that thing before I can lead? That we're all kind of guilty of, where we feel like we have to be the best in the room to be leading. No, you just need to be able to tap into the skills of others well enough. You don't have to be the expert, but you need to know how to lead the experts. Leading is a completely different skill. I think that is an eye opener for sure. I keep thinking, this whole, we say, imposter syndrome that we have. I keep thinking when I'm leading something, think, oh my God, I'm thinking there are people here who led me. Why am I leading? That's why I'm leading them, and I'm not the expert whom they are capturing. That to be able to use their expertise to build the team is something you have to think. Yeah.
That's what, Kaveri, because I learned it from one of my previous supervisors. He said the role is more for you to be able to brand and market your team than actually sit and do the coding yourself. You should know the code, but you don't have to sit and do it. You're supposed to be managing people. You're supposed to be marketing for them, ensuring they get the right space and recognition that they need. And that's when I realized that I have to get away from doing things to strategically planning a couple of next steps that otherwise would help the team. So I think that was an eye-opener, yes, for me. Hey, everyone, I'm seeing the crowd increase. Thank you for joining in, everyone. We are just starting to discuss chapter 7. Please do share your thought. Vyomi, you were saying something, but it's true if you want to just unmute and talk about it. I'm guilty.
Hi, Garima. Hi, everyone. Actually, the thought about, the four kind of powers that they mention in chapter 7 is really great, because we're all aware about the power of expertise and the power of, connections. But I don't think we actually, know or think about, the other ones, especially, because, we're all like, so especially us women, like you mentioned, we're so into, getting things right, being the perfect one out there that we, don't think about, anything else. So that was really an eye opener. Great choice. And, thank you so much for moving this on a Sunday. It's really great to be a part of the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Vyomi. We heard everyone. So for everyone, Vyomi was referring to the four powers. The first one being power of expertise. The second one being power of connection. The third one being power of personal authority or charisma, because each one of you can inspire. And the fourth one is the power of position, which, we all gradually reach. And the decision, and it says the decision is always made by the person with power to make the decision. So power of position, of course, is important, but other than expertise, it's connection, personal authority, and the power of position. So that's what Vyomi was referring to, in case for people who haven't read, that's what it was. Anybody else would like to contribute or share what they read, what they think about the book, or their personal experiences?
Sorry, where are these four powers from?
So this is, if you're reading the book, it is in chapter 7, and they talk about actually a book where it's called The Web of Inclusion, which Sally is referring to. And she is interviewing a guy called Ted Jenkins, who was probably the co-founder or hired at Intel. And so he talks about these four powers that have helped him evolve in his corporate journey.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Shall we move on and read the next chapter now, Garima?
Sure. So I did realize that some of us have read chapter 8, myself included, but we'll start reading chapter 8 today. Sorry. And we'll try to cover chapter 8. It's a small chapter. I will share my screen. Anybody who would want to read, please do volunteer. Just give me 1 second. So it is about building rather than leveraging relationships. It's an interesting one. Again, guilty of some things that talk about it. Anybody who would want to volunteer?
I can volunteer. Vyomi here. This chapter again, totally guilty. We are so good at building relationships, but we kind of, shy away from leveraging it. So I'll start. We often ask women we work with what they believe they are best at. Most cite their ability to build strong relationships, especially with clients, peers, and direct reports. Research confirms this perception. For example, in 2 recent global studies, senior leaders ranked their female employees into most highly on motivating and engaging others, building strong teams, negotiating win-wins, empathetic listening, and building morale, all skills rooted in a talent for relationships. Yet these findings present a conundrum. Given the consensus that many women have outstanding relationship skills, and given that organizations increasingly view the capacity to build strong relationships as a vital leadership skill, why don't women benefit more from this strength? Why hasn't it propelled them to even higher levels in their organization? Why is it when it comes to achieving top positions, do many women who are great at building relationships fail to rise? Our experience suggests an answer. Over the years, we have noted that while women are often stellar relationship builders, they tend to be less skilled at leveraging relationships. or maybe not exactly less skilled, but rather noticeably reluctant to do so. Of course, this is not true of all women. We've known that many who are superb at using leverage, subtle, magnetic, and strategic. These women actively enjoy building connections that benefit not only their organization and wide range of people, but also and very emphatically themselves. Yet, we also see talented, hardworking women who rebel at the very thought of engaging others to help them meet either specific or long term career goals. I must tell you, I'm one of them. They'll gladly spend time and energy getting to know people, offering them help, listening to their problems, giving advice, and drawing them close, but shrink at the prospect of engaging them in such a way that furthers their own ambition. When we ask women who are uncomfortable with the very notion of leverage as to what holds them back, we usually hear some variation on the following: I don't want others to think that I'm using them. I want people to know that I value them for themselves and not what they can do for me. I don't like self servicing people, and I don't want to be one of them. Basically, I'm not a hustler. Political games are really not my thing. These statements make clear the underlying belief that exercising leverage translates as not being a very nice person. This is problematic because leveraging relationships is key for achieving professional success. I think this was really an eye opener for me because I always thought that I'd not be nice if I did something like that. So this chapter was really an eye opener. I can stop here and maybe somebody else would want to carry it forward.
Sure.
Anybody else would like to read? We'll read some bit and then we can discuss.
Okay, shall I read it then, Garima? Okay. Most great careers are built not just on talent or hard work, but on the mutual exchange of benefits, something men are often more comfortable with than women. There's a kind of win-win horse trading that seems to come naturally to a lot of men. They enjoy it. They're comfortable saying, if you go to bat for me on this, I'll be there for you. Having a close relationship with someone is often less important to them than being able to count on that person's support when they need it. This is a standard way of operating in most organizations. So women who aren't comfortable in developing win-win partnerships can put themselves at a disadvantage. Julie Johnson, the executive coach mentioned in chapter 2, Anchors. She says, in my observation, when men build relationships at work, they're usually very focused. They pursue people they believe can help them accomplish their objectives. Women often have multiple reasons for developing relationships. They look up to a successful peer and want her as a friend. They need someone to talk with about their work. Can you scroll up, please? Yeah. They feel sorry for a coworker and want to help him out. They just want people in general to like them, or maybe they're sticking with a relationship they've outgrown in the name of loyalty. None of these motivations, except sometimes in the last, is harmful in itself, Julie points out. And building close relationships can be personally rewarding and provide emotional sustenance and support, both of which are important, especially for women who feel isolated in their jobs. But if you steadfastly refuse to leverage the relationships you've built in pursuit of your goals, you will diminish your ability to reach your full potential. And that would be a shame. For not only will your reluctance deprive you of the help you need to act on your dreams and fulfill your talents, it will undermine your efforts to support colleagues, peer, and direct reports. By restricting your sphere of influence and taking yourself out of what you may dismiss as a distasteful political game, you ultimately erode your capacity to make a difference in the world. Okay, I have an opinion on this though. I mean, I think it's a very basic difference between men and women, and I don't want to be a man. It's a kind of way of, I feel a lot of people who are in high positions are my friends, yes, but I would never use that position, and that's why they remain. I feel like there is a real reason why I wouldn't use it. So I don't know. I guess it comes down to your definition of success and what your relationship with them is. If my relationship with them is professional, I have no qualms leveraging it for professional thing. But if it's a personal relationship, I value that more. And I think that's okay. I somehow don't agree with this point of leveraging every relationship because, I mean, using that influence and saying, oh, so I know so-and-so, my brother-in-law is a high court judge and I'm going to use that influence. No, I won't. Or so-and-so can help me get my business out and I put it. I mean, we ourselves know, we cringe when we have a group for a particular reason and someone puts on that group their personal, business and tries to promote it. Everyone kinds of cringes and, like says, okay, this is a bunch of friends. You don't start putting your business in here. So I'm just wondering whether it's a thing that it makes the reason why women work better in communities is one of these reasons. So why would we want to be like a man who leverages every relationship?
We are not asking to be like a man. See, the line she says is their relationships are very focused. And when you read further, they also mention that women relationships are with different purpose. One where they want to share things, like social, like a community like we have. Then one where, you are, there's a purpose for everything where you just want to sit and vent out. But when you are in an organization, your relationship has to be a little focused in ensuring that you don't cross that thin line of knowing someone and getting too personal about it. Like you said, that if your relationship is personal, you don't want to jeopardize that relationship. But if I have to climb the ladder, I'm not saying in any negative sense. I need somebody to speak up for me behind my back when I'm not there.
So and you're talking about professional relationship.
Yes.
I mean, a person in the professional relationship. Yeah.
Correct. So professionally, do I need somebody to be talking me up in a room with board of directors? Yes, I need that kind of relationship. And I would want to talk up about that person as well if somebody were to, ask me. That's one. Women also look for relationships where they can openly ask for quote unquote some perks. For example, and this is a practical example I'm telling you. It took me a lot of time to earn that a tag of, that she will get things done, let it be, because I wanted a hybrid model long before even COVID happened, right? I couldn't go to office for 9-10 hours. I had to work from home and office together. And that's when, my relationships, and I built it over time. That, let me work from home, I will take care of it, kind of a thing. So you need some people who will talk you up, who will ensure that, you're not bothered about by HR or somebody else, or, that you're breaching a policy or doing this, you're doing that, kind of a thing. So you need to have one such person or 2-3 such people, at least in an organization. That's what I believe. I mean, we don't always have to sit and talk about how my kid's day was, which kindergarten you go to. But I would want somebody who will say, you know what, she's doing a great job, or who's there to support me that, this was your worst day, Garima, but never mind, come back up tomorrow again. So it's a thin line between getting personal and having somebody to vouch for you. I don't know, others, what do you think? I think personally, I completely agree. I don't want to damage a relationship with a family member unless they offer me. See, that's another thing. Sometimes, even if it's your personal relationship, Kaveri, and somebody would offer, women will be reluctant and we will say, nahi, let it be. I will work my way up, right? The point is that if somebody is offering to help you, evaluate your options. And if you want, take the help. There's no harm in accepting help.
And that I think is a different conversation. I mean, asking for help and accepting help is something that, yes, everyone has to learn. And this whole thing of, I will do it on my own shouldn't be there. But I think leveraging relationship is a different thing from asking for help.
Yes, absolutely. But in office,
point, can I say something?
Yes, Beena. Hey, Beena, long time, good to see you.
What I feel here is what we can learn is how the men keep their relationships, something which we can learn from. Maybe we need to see, we don't have to become like men or be the whatever that way, but something which we can learn from them. Sometimes we mess up our relationships, keeping personal and professional together. So how do men keep their focus? I don't know if you remember, there was one cartoon of how the men have the simple boxes, where it is, whereas woman has complex boxes and the relationships goes from here to there. So that's how we mess it up. So maybe we need to think of how inside in this, maybe more will be told in leveraging. I have not read the book,
Right.
what conversations, and this one paragraph, this is what I saw with that. It has to be more focused. Men are more focused.
But
That
you know
definitely
something,
is.
Bina, actually, men do mess up their relationships by doing this. Often, men who are married, the relationship gets back in focus because their wives step in and correct it for them. So, actually speaking, they do mess up a lot of their relationship, and they're pretty bad at keeping it. So that's something
but
that
you know, the thing is, they are okay about it because they are in the spree of they make mistakes and they learn. But we women are unforgiving on that. Na? We women will not want to make mistakes. We want
We
to get
hold
it
on to
right
it.
the first time. Huh?
We
That's
hold
the
on to
difference.
it.
Yeah.
And sometimes just hold on for things which are very small in nature as well. In the longer term, they don't matter, but we hold on, we remember, कि नहीं, he or she did that to me, so I will never go back,
Yeah.
Garima, this is
Arpita
Amrita.
here. I guess we get emotionally involved a lot. Sometimes, even if it's not
Correct.
triggered, then also we get emotionally involved. If we can leave that aside, then this taking help and doing help, I think, will make more sense. And we mess up there sometimes.
Garima, I'd like to add, we have clear boundaries. We are very mindful of the boundaries that we maintain in relationships. I think it's because as nurturers, as wives, as daughter-in-laws, I think our boundaries are something that we are made aware of, whereas men tend to compartmentalize things. I mean, this is my point of view. So I think it becomes easy for them leveraging. For us, because we have clear boundaries defined in our minds. So I think somewhere I agree with Kaveri that, leveraging for something for my personal gain, I might not do it because it's taboo in my mind, like this is, like I said, again, my point of view. So we tend to be very mindful of the boundaries that we have drawn, whereas men are not, so they're pretty nonchalant about it.
I think when you use the word personal, that's the difference between the way we create our relationships and think about leveraging. So I don't think we have to leverage a relationship for a personal favor or something. We are simply here talking about if I have done a good job, go up and, do me right. And I will do you right as well. It is not a give and take at the same time. So personal relationships have to be personal. The point is that, in my opinion, even when I'm in office, I attach a personal aspect to every professional relationship. And that's where that's what I think Beena was talking about. We kind of complicate it so much that we hesitate either asking for it, or we just don't leverage it, or we don't even think about doing that. We hesitate so much, even if it's a small thing. Okay, can you fill in for me because I have to step away for a doctor's appointment? We don't. We will overanalyze it. So I don't think the book talks about personal relationships. We're talking more about professional ones, how we need to kind of open up with the.
No, I agree to what you said. So it's like I'm like the pros and cons. I agree with Kaveri also, and I agree with you too. Is because it depends on how we need to see that situation and
Correct.
take that call at that moment.
Correct. But I think, a lot of young women that I'm meeting these days, they are pretty clear in, when they approach you, they have clear goals. They're not trying to rush, but at the same time, they are keeping, your relationship as it is, and they're not attaching a lot of personal value to it. So I think we are coming up there gradually. Not to say that men relationships are perfect. They have their own bigger challenges. But and I think she does talk about it later. It was she, or at least in Lean In, they do mention that men are deprived of the social relationships that women have, because we get together and we talk, we went out, but men don't have that kind of relationship. So that's also no good, not much good. Okay, I think we'll move on.
Garima, sorry, there's just
yes.
one other aspect that I'd like to, add, because this book is ultimately about how women rise. So women, we also have to look at the leadership positions we hold. And what I've, realized by, reading this is, if I'm in a leadership position, if I hold back leveraging my relationships, not am I only doing myself a disservice, I'm also doing my team a disservice. If my team has worked hard and they've done a good job for
Absolutely.
another stakeholder, and I'm going to say, yeah, who's going to do the talking? People should notice it. Or if I feel guilty, about talking about them and asking for something for them, that, these guys deserve a reward, or they deserve a recognition, or, whatever, then that's the mindset that, I need to change. Because I'll be very frank, I used to find it really very difficult. I've gotten better over the years, but, this is kind of cementing the fact that this is what I need to, do more and let go of the inhibitions, because ultimately it's not for personal gain, right? I'm speaking for the work that I have done, very well deserved, and my team has done. So if I'm not the advocate, nobody's going to do it for me. So that's why I think it's really very important to put it, have the focus on a professional context, and kind of, because ultimately we will not rise, our team will not rise along with us if we, kind of keep on feeling guilty. So that's just what I wanted to add.
I completely agree with that. Giving credit where it's due is different from leveraging a relationship. That is what I still have a problem with, the idea of leveraging a relationship.
Oh, so it does work, Kaveri, because if I end up doing somebody else's team's job, or my team takes up the extra load, for example, trying to meet targets, I would want to go ahead and ask, hey, Kaveri, we covered up for you. So for the next 2 months, you got to cover up for my team because you're going to be taking a break.
Yeah, so I think it's the perception of what is leveraging a relationship, because I don't see that as leveraging a relationship. Leveraging a relationship is more, in my mind, using someone that you have one relationship with, using a different aspect of them for your professional gain, which I don't.
Leverage is a very negative word probably to us, because we have always been read about it or spoken to in that context. But if we understand leverage in the next section, it is pretty straight and simple. Why not? If the team has done a great job, I would want them to be recognized. Otherwise, next year you can go to somebody else. I can't say that.
Right. And people don't ask this, because until and unless I don't go and tell them, okay, look, this is what they've done for you. How are you going to kind of, what is the feedback you're giving them? How will you motivate them? Your onshore counterparts are not going to, automatically recognize or, send out awards, etc. for them. I actually did this. I keep frequent connects, and then, I talk about what my team does and, everything. And then I asked for it. I said, if they've done a good job, give them that recognition. So it's, yes, we've built a good relationship. We worked with them, but then it is quid pro quo. And if we don't realize that and, kind of push ourselves, I think we do ourselves a disservice.
Leaders as well. Then we're not being good leaders. Our teams will not probably work the next time we want them to. Then me as a leader is not good, because I am not getting them something in return, and there's no harm in getting that return.
True.
Second thing is, sometimes, and then this has happened so many times, that, my team would come back and argue that, boss, you should have said something. Why did we do this? Why did you not react? I'm like, hold on, hamara number aayega. So, and it's not negative, I will just hold on to that one thing and say, you know what, either we covered up for you there, or we did something for you there. And so now is the time when you kind of balance what we did for you. And there's nothing negative about it. It's just that I believe, after reading the chapter, Kaveri, ki leverage, we always take it as a very negative word. So, but in corporate, I think it's fine. Why not?
Hi everyone. I just have a question here. Discussing this is fine, but how is this leveraging actually? Giving recognition to the team members, or making them, or making their work recognized. How is it actually leveraging anybody?
No, their work is not leverage, but she is using the relationship to get them recognized, or get them extra compensation, or get them the reward, instead of hesitating and just telling the team that, you know what, you did the job, thank you very much. She is going ahead and talking. But I think we are moving one segment faster,
Fast.
because in this
Okay.
one, we talk about what is leverage, not
Mhm.
everything is leverage. So the first one, of course, we read is reciprocal, and there are, I think, four ways through which you can use
Okay,
leverage.
let's read it. Let's read.
Yeah, let's read them. Anybody, Disha, if you'd want to go ahead and read.
Yeah, sure. So, leverage is a key career skill, a strategic way of operating that can pay outside rewards. Successful leaders know how to employ it. They may be subtle or direct, depending on their preferred style. But if you run across someone who has real significance as a leader, you can bet he or she uses leverage every chance they get. Even if you're uncomfortable or skeptical with the subject of leverage, you can benefit by understanding the basics of how it works. It differs from building relationships in four ways. Leverage is always reciprocal based on quid pro quo. The underlying premise is you help me and I'll help you. This reciprocity may be stated and explicitly promised, or it may be implied and tactically understood. But leverage relationships always operate to mutual advantage. When you ask for something, you offer something in return, and you and the other person both continue to seek to be of service to one another. Leverage can be the basis of a relationship or merely an aspect of a relationship that also has a personal dimension. The point is that both people involved understand they are using one another to improve their access to resources, broaden their professional connections, and create mutually beneficial opportunities. The underlying belief is that a rising tide will lift all boats. Okay, wow. Leverage is used to achieve both tactical and strategic goals. You initiate leverage when you make a request. Usually the request is small and specific. I'm representing an artist whose prints and perfect for hotel lobbies. Do you know anyone in the hotel business who could introduce me to dealers who acquire work for their properties? Or more simply, would you be willing to share your insights about what motivates this client? These are tactical favors in that they help you accomplish immediate objectives, things that would be helpful to you this week, this month, this year. Yet, at its most effective, leverage also serves the larger strategic ear. Yet, at its most strategic purpose of engaging those who might be helpful to you in the future. Your tactical request opens the door to a give and take and may not pay immediate dividends, but may help you realize a long-term goal down the road. The person to whom you make the request will also view the relationship as having potential value when he or she moves to a higher level. This kind of reciprocity works best when your goals harmonize with and complement those of the people you seek to engage. This is something we have always been opposite of. Reading this is like, wow, okay. Leverage is highly intentional. You establish a leverage relationship with a specific purpose in mind, which means you use different criteria than when you establish a friendship. Does the person you seek to engage have relationships that could be useful to you now or in future? Does she seem poised to become more powerful over time? Is there something you are particularly well positioned to offer him now that might take him eager to be a resource for you in the future? Liking the person is not the primary point, though it's never a good idea to seek a reciprocal relationship with someone you dislike. That road leads to mutual exploitation, which can look a lot like leverage, but has the potential to create an unholy mess. More important than how you feel about the person is how well the two of you are positioned to be useful to one another over time. This is what distinguishes leverage from friendship, though the two may overlap and very often do. Anybody else wants to take it up, or shall I continue?
You continue.
Okay. Leverage brings distinctive rewards. In the previous chapter, we looked at the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic rewards in relation to mastery and recognition. These concepts also apply to leverage. In friendship and simple colleague relations, the rewards are intrinsic, which means highly personal and subjective. You like how someone makes you feel, you enjoy his sense of humor, you are inspired or comforted after you talk to her. In leverage relationship, the rewards are extrinsic, which means they are measurable and concrete. You gain access to a new group and potential clients or investors. You have an opportunity to enhance your reputation and visibility or learn a new skill. In establishing leverage, your purpose is always front and center. This doesn't mean you don't respect or enjoy spending time with the other person, but the intrinsic rewards are a bonus instead of a point.
I hope these 4 points kind of clarify some of the debate that we had on how good or bad leverage is, because I think we have all used it. If not, then we have reached a stage when we've tried to use it. I kind of use point number 2 a lot, and point 3. A good example probably would be if if you're providing service to someone and the service contracts are about to get over, you may want to leverage your relationship with someone on the client side, give me the feedback, what can I do better, how can we renew this contract or something. So that's what leverage is like. Or you may want to see how you can be part of some session which you should be part of, but you're not getting through. So you may want to kind of use or have a chat about it with someone who is part of the session. So it's not all that bad if you think about it.
Yeah, I also agree with Garima. I find that they've defined leverage as a tool really well, and I think it's a good tool to use, especially when you're trying to break some new ground, or you're trying to some and the existing channels don't exist. So it could be that you leverage the partnerships that you have. We leverage technology all the time, right? But one thing what I've observed is that leverage only works when there is some mutual benefit. So when individuals keep asking for something, but they are not thinking of the what value they can offer to somebody in return, then it's not always necessary that they're going to succeed, because it's an ongoing process, right? You don't just use leverage once. You use it a number of times through your career with certain individuals where you've invested in building the relationships. But yeah, I do agree that it's also good to keep these relationships a bit authentic. But it's definitely like a good tool. I've used it. I still use it. And it has many benefits.
Thanks, Meryl, and good to see you back.
Likewise.
Anybody wants to add to this, or we can move on? Okay. Anybody would want to volunteer to read?
May I?
Sure, Sapna. Thanks.
Yeah. In a good cause, the transactional tactic, strategic, and international aspect of leverage can be a stumbling block for women. The high value women place on relationships often makes them more eager to seek out personal friendships that offer intrinsic rewards than to cultivate connections and collect chits for future use. Women who balk at using leverage often view disinterested relationships as purer proof that you are a trustworthy and honorable person Horse trading may imply you have an agenda and are out for yourself. There are two problems with this kind of thinking. The first is that it assumes a degree of powerlessness on your part. This is because underlying the you help me and I'll help you ethos is the unstated promise that you have the potential to be useful to the person you're engaging. You aren't just some poor soul asking for help. You are a potential resource that the other person would be fortunate to have in the years ahead. In other words, engaging leverage in a subtle way of suggestions that you are going places, that you are a player whose help can be of value down the road. Refusing to engage in this way on the grounds that you don't want to use the other person suggests that you don't see yourself as having this kind of power, and that you can't imagine the other person would perceive an advantage in having a relationship with you. The second problem with seeing leverage as a morally suspect behavior is that it reveals that familiar idea or mindset we have been harping on in this book. Can you little scroll up? Yeah, thank you. Either you are a wonderful person with pure intentions who give no thought to your own advancement, or you are a connivore who uses others to achieve your own ends. Either you are motivated by the desire for disinterested friendship, or you're only out for yourself. This kind of framing allows for no middle ground, no way of being a good and helpful person who is capable of pursuing her own self-interest. The either or mindset shows itself most clearly when a woman who disdains using leverage in her career is perfectly comfortable doing so in the service of a good cause. This is quite common. Take Amanda, a product coordinator for a manufacturer of medical devices. Amanda's company has a global reputation and takes a lot of pride in its products. Recently, she was approached by one of her company's top salesmen about the hospital where she previously worked as an administrator. Amanda has kept her ties with a lot of her old colleagues, not because they are potential clients. Her job is more internally facing, but because she loved the camaraderie of her old team. She says, Kevin asked me to introduce him to a few of the senior people I knew so he could connect with them about some of our products. I was uncomfortable with this for several reasons. I consider these people personal friends and don't want them to feel hustled. He's a real hotshot in sales and known to be pretty aggressive. Also, Kevin never showed a shred of interest in me until he found out I did work at that hospital. He doesn't seem to care about me as a person, so why should I set him up? Amanda didn't want to come right out and say no, so she tried to avoid Kevin. I was hoping he did get the message. I wasn't interested, but he continued to call and press me. Really, the way he kept at it was pretty shameless. Shall I continue? Yeah, okay. Perhaps so. Yeah, perhaps so. But that's not a great reason for Amanda to spurn the opportunity to do a simple favor for one of her company's stars, someone who is on a strong trajectory pointed up. If she wanted to protect her friends at the hospital, she could have asked them if they minded her providing the introduction, or she could have told them to use their own judgment about whether to respond when Kevin called. And since she knows her company's products are superior, the connection could have been to her old friend's advantage. The only thing Amanda was really protecting was her own belief that asserting leverage on behalf of self-interest was an unsavory and self-interested practice. Yet, even as she was putting her nose in the air about Kevin, Amanda was forging connections and twisting arms on behalf of a domestic violence shelter that had opened in her community. calling neighbors to buy tickets to the to the fundraiser and enlisting colleagues as volunteers. In taking on the cause of the women who sought refuge, Amanda was not in the least concerned that pressuring people she was friendly with was taking advantage of them or being a hustler. Because she was the goal as worthy, she was perfectly comfortable employing the same shameless tactics as Kevin had. It wasn't his tactics she objected to, but employing those tactics in the pursuit of his own self-interest.
Thanks, Sapna. I hope that helps clarify some bit of the reluctance that we sometimes have, when we talk about personal relationships.
Yes.
We have 8 minutes. We have a small section left if we want to read. That will help us close the chapter. Or if you would like to discuss, we can discuss as well.
Shall we close the chapter and feel a sense of like it's closure, really?
Yes. Anyone would like to read? Okay. Acting on your strength. Our experience has convinced us that leverage is a key career skill that many women could make better use of as they seek to rise. But we also recognize that the inhibitions may feel about using it are rooted in one of women's most profound and characteristic strengths. Decades of research confirm that women's preference for building strong personal relationships instead of transactional alliances serves them as a great source of emotional fortitude, long-term resilience, and everyday joy. Women's close relationships are a boon to them and the envy of many men who wish they could talk more intimately with friends when they are in trouble, depressed, or feel alone. So please don't get the idea that we are urging you to undervalue your gift for intimacy or rein in your warmth and concerns for others in favor of a more leveraged approach. Instead, you might think about how to bring your skills for forging deep connections into play as you seek also to become more intentional in building relationships that may be advantageous to you in the future. So maybe go back and read this line because this line kind of sums up the entire leverage thing. This is certainly the approach taken by women who are superb at leverage, which is why their efforts can be so compelling and magnetic. You may also examine the degree to which your dismissal of any quid pro quo elements in relationships is based on a moralistic judgment. It helps to remember that leverage is a two-way street, and that even as you benefit, you are also benefiting someone else. Successful leverage is the very definition of win-win. It's good for you and it's good for the other person. And the more genuinely others see that you are invested in the mutuality of the relationship, the more value you will create for them and for the world. So that's all about leverages. I think, building more intentional relationship, that was a line that maybe we can read again. And making more intentional relationships in our workplace or anywhere else for that matter.
Is that the end of this chapter?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's a short chapter. Okay.
Yes.
Ah. Oh, wow. Okay, so what are we taking away from today's? Maybe we can just.
That leverage is not the negative word.
Yeah, and it should be intentional. For a successful career, leverage should be there and it should be intentional.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I need to rethink what I mean by leverage because, yeah, there's leverage and there's leverage. That much I've got from.
So basically leverage versus leeching. Is that what you're saying? Leech and leverage?
No, I'm saying using. Leverage versus being a user. For me, leverage has always been using someone for my purposes. Like it's not quid pro quo. Leverage has never been quid pro quo in my head. So that's why it's a bad word. It's more like abusing a relationship That's how I see leverage.
Oh,
So,
but I always felt it opened me up to a request from the other side also. So to that extent, I always felt, okay, I have to be ready and open to be useful when that other person asks me for it. When I gain from someone.
But even the examples a bit. So now the definition of leverage here is very different. It's not the leverage that, as per English and as per this thing, whatever I have learned till now. So they mean something completely different from what I know the word. I mean,
yeah, and one thing I've also observed, right, is that sometimes, sorry?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, coming in for your due or drawing focus to something that could serve you and they might want to help. Asking for help has never been looked at as leverage. Asking for help is asking for help.
Also,
to reach it, I mean, change that out. Yeah.
So the other thing I've also observed is that you know, it doesn't have to happen in this very clinical way. Like sometimes then the way the book describes it, it can come across as slightly clinical, but the truth is these relationships take a long time to build. You're basically leveraging a relationship that you already have to some extent. Maybe you've already worked with somebody in a different capacity, and here you're asking them for some help, but it's also a way to understand what kind of support they need, and kind of, you know, try and anticipate that or ask them for it. So it can be a very good tool for women to grow, especially because in a traditional male dominated world, the way networking happens is very much after hours and things like that. So especially if you work from home or you don't have that physical mobility to get into those spaces, this could be a good way to build relationships and also get out there and ask for what you want from people you trust, right? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
I think it's one's own perspective about leverage, how one takes it.
Could you repeat?
I think it's one's own perspective, how one takes it, you know, about leverage. You know, men takes it other way, and even everybody act, not a gender bias, everybody takes in their own way. It's one's own perspective. It's not a bad or good, or I feel that. So it's one's own perspective, how they take it.
I always think we need to stop thinking that men do this and women do this, because men are not one and women are not one
That's
person.
what I said. It's not a gender bias, but then
good at, and being a woman doesn't make you at relationships, and being a man doesn't automatically make you it. So I don't think it's gendered. I think it's an individual thing. The less we generalize, the better in general. Yeah.
No, I agree.
So happy to have women
in our relationship is very important. It cuts the clutter in the relationships as well, Kaveri, I believe, you know. You don't always have to be nice and sweet to everyone just because it's expected out of you. If something is not serving you, some person is not serving you well, and you don't think he or she can help you 5 years or 2 years down the line, you don't really necessarily have to continue being leveraged as much as taking leverage as well, right? So that's another thing. Some people will come to you to leverage you. If you don't think the person can give you anything in return today or tomorrow, tactically, strategically, then, you know, you have to think about it. But
yeah, for me, somehow it is a question of whether they like this thing. It's when I'm willing to help them is separate from whether they can serve me. That's what I find. There are some people who I feel the need is genuine, and I'm happy to help them not serve me tomorrow. But at the same time, it depends on the relationship. It ultimately depends on whether you want to help that person.
I think no help. We are not helping anybody. Let's be very honest. In an organization, when you're trying to move up the ladder, you're not helping anyone. You are not there to help
Beyond-
anyone as well. You are just trying to ensure that, you ask for what you have worked for, and you have built that kind of ecosystem around you that you can approach the person and ask from the person freely, knowing fully well that you're going to have to give in return somewhere, probably.
I think Garima, the basic thing is, again, you're thinking again within an organization. I think those of us who've never worked and have always worked out in the world and only for ourselves, it's a very different thing, because our relationships, personal and the professional, are always overlapping. So for me, it is the entire world. It isn't just these are professional relationships and there are personal. It's never that. For me, I think it's because it's never in an organization. I've never been part of an office. So it becomes a whole different ball. I think that is where the difference. Every time I'm thinking of leveraging, talking about generally among friends and family. So I wouldn't, and that's where. So the whole, I think it has been when you're in an organization. So when I'm thinking of myself, I keep forgetting that the book is talking within an organization, within a team. So for me, that all those relationships become very overlapping and nebulous. It's different rules. Okay, I think we're overshooting time here.
Yes. I hope everybody had a good discussion. I had, at least.
Yes, me
And
too.
good.
Glad to
So
be
we'll be
in.
reading next chapter through the week, everyone, which is chapter number 9. And next Sunday, when we meet on 11, we will do a recap of chapter 9 and we'll start chapter 10. So have a good reading ahead, and do share your discussion points, whatever sits well with you, on our channel as well on WhatsApp, and we'll see you.
Sure.
All right. Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you,
It was
everyone.
awesome being here.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Garima, it's still live, but it's not recording. So I think we just.
It is going to record.
I think we just end meeting for all. It should happen.
Okay.
See if you can.
I can only leave. I can't end meeting for all.
Can't end meeting for all.
Because Hira is the host.
Okay, we'll have to tell Hira to stop the live streaming then. Guys, those of you who are here, if everyone could leave, if everyone leaves, maybe that would help. Just saying.
One second.
Let me message Hira. You're on mute, Garima.
I'm just checking if he can help. How? But I'm a co-host.
The host can end meeting, but we can only leave meeting. Okay, she's going to get her friend to stop it. So I think we can both leave.
Okay. Chalo.
All right,
See
see you. Bye.
Bye.